I started my day today with waiting at the Lynne McTaggart site to see if I could get on for the International Peace Intention Healing Experiment. And
Nice, right?
in fact, yeah, I kept trying and trying, and it would say try in 7 minutes. And finally, I noticed in the email she had sent out that there was a YouTube link. And we'll put that in the chat later on if any of you want to view it on YouTube. But I found it to be pretty extraordinary. At one point, while I was waiting to get on, I just started doing some RH, and I got some really pretty intense, we'll say, feedback from the frequencies, a lot more physicality, um, not that I was registering, but just I felt embraced. And that was interesting. And then when I started the YouTube, I switched from doing RH to just concentrating on what they were talking about and trying to be one with them in thought. But it made for an interesting morning. Did anyone else play with that today? Okay, Barb, you did. What did you find?
Well, I actually went to the YouTube pretty early on because, like you, I couldn't get into her website and I figured it was overwhelmed. And it was very interesting. We sat for 10 minutes and just held an intention and peace in our hearts and visualizing and imagining with all of our senses peace in that area for everybody who's involved, all the citizens. And it was very powerful. I mean, I felt very light afterwards, and I just really kind of enjoyed the experience.
Yeah,
Um,
it's always interesting.
I'm sorry, but was that on this morning?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was on the evening. Okay. No wonder you guys got it.
No, but the YouTube link is there, and since we know there's no such thing as time, it should be just fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And one thing I did is I pulled up Google Earth so that I could be looking at the landscape of the Gaza Strip while I was doing it, because I really didn't have any clear picture of what it was like there. And that may have been helpful. I don't know. But one thing it kind of brought to mind for me was it with reconnective healing, we talk about receiving. We're always receiving for ourselves. And when we facilitate, we receive for them as well so that they can receive. But in other modalities, they talk almost exclusively about sending.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know whether it needs to be opposites. In order to send, you have to have received. Um, and what kind of does it make a difference except that Solomon said, don't send, receive? What do you guys think?
I'm kind of curious the way you were describing it. Um, when you both, Mary and Barbara, did you say that it's said to kind of go to a place of love and peace and imagine that as if it was not already here? Or was it really phrased that way? You
No,
know,
it was phrased so that picture peace, picture love, be the love. Um,
and a lot of it's in a just my RH, the way I've kind of been seeping and all this. My ears would say to me, now wait a minute, maybe we just need to return to what's inside us and the love and peace that already exists there.
Yeah. I
But
can
go
you guys
ahead.
Yes.
okay. So when I was in massage school, I was really confused about why people felt like they were losing energy and more energized, and like I had been way my energy. I just felt way more energized. And it took me a little while. I mean, I probably didn't really start. I think it was Next Level Soul podcast or Ralph Smart recently had said something about the same thing you guys are mentioning is when you're at a place of full love and at resonating at a higher vibration, you really aren't giving it away. You're it's mutual. It becomes a very mutual thing. And so I completely agree with you guys. Yeah.
You know, I think that Lynn follows the more kind of mainstream attitude about a lot of this. And I'm not sure why. I first heard her at an event that Dr. Eric hosted. And she has followed him for a number of years. But she, like so many people, you know, they have their own like little niche and their path. And she, I think it's easier to get people to understand some of the wording that she was using, but for me it was like just imagine, feel it, you know, feel it with your senses. You know, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? You know, use all of your senses and immerse yourself in it. So in some ways that is almost being, you know, being it. And I know that when you do remote viewing, if any of you have ever been involved with like the remote viewing projects, they do the same thing. It's like you kind of imagine yourself in this place and you absorb everything that's there. You smell the smell, you know, you hear all the little sounds, you know, feel the earth and the water or the air or whatever is around you, and you really become part of it. And I think that's kind of what she was promoting this morning. At least that was my take on it. I know sometimes like when I do chanting, and you know, different events that I participate in, they do use kind of that separation wording, and I always just kind of change it in my own head, you know, for what works for me. So
yeah, the vocabulary of all of these approaches can be kind of off-putting. I was writing to someone who was another practitioner once, and I said, sending you love. And she came back with, oh, you don't have to send me love. Just be the love and I'll have it. And it's like, okay, but you know, there are things we just in this culture, there are phrases we use and we don't mean anything specific by them. So, you know, it can be a trial sometimes to communicate about these non-corporeal experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually talked with Eric and Jillian a couple times about that, you know, and I think about it frequently because words do matter and concepts matter. And as I become more and more aware of my connection with everything, the fact that I am not only this finite being, but all of us, I find that the words, that I catch myself, you know, if I use like say the wrong phrase or something, but you know, it's a concept, and the more that I understand that concept, that I am so much more than just this finite being, it's easier for me to use those more appropriate wording. And yet it's also like important for me to, you know, be gentle with myself when I don't, you know, and just, you know, be forgiving. And yeah, you know, I remember a conversation that I had with, I think it was Eric and Jillian not that long ago, about how sometimes when I felt because I do have a tendency, and I did for a long time, use the wrong words. And then they would kind of try to correct me, understandably why, to help promote the reasoning. But it's almost like I felt like they kind of went overboard a little bit, and then it's like, oh, I don't want to say anything because, I don't want to be reprimanded. And so finding that balance is important. And that's just kind of like what life is in general, finding that balance. It's, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd like to hear some more thoughts on that. And
I it we can be, there's that
I am having a hard time hearing you, Christine. I'm sorry.
All right, figure out why. Can you guys hear me okay now?
Now, yes.
Okay. So I think there is that potential for not knowing or being unaware. So if we're being, I want to say corrected, but maybe that's not the exact words, that they probably weren't intending to correct. They're just trying to shed light upon something. But at the same time, we can use statements like sending you love from an honest, pure, loving heart that says, I want you to know that I'm with you. I'm with you today and I love you very much. That doesn't mean we're unaware. It could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. We are human people and we are spirit beings. And so I think what Barbara had said, that both can actually exist at the same time. I appreciate people who are wanting to shed light if they assume I'm unaware or unknowing. But at the same time, we can't be so attached to saying things the right way that we diminish the meaning behind what people are actually saying, the heart of it.
And if we worry about how we're going to phrase something, we end up saying nothing.
True. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's, it's all about intent.
Yes.
And language is just an approximation of what we're trying to convey. Yeah.
If we could get rid of the English or any language, if we could just get rid of it and just speak telepathically from our hearts, it'd be so much easier.
Fine. Well, we may be headed there.
I think you're right. I agree. I agree. Yes.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah. And speaking of intention, that is what Lynne's experiment was really all about this morning, was the intention of sending peace or being peace, or, promoting peace, or whatever word you want to call it, and joining peace. But she has done a number of experiments around this and has found it to be effective. And again, it's interesting because there's a difference between, like with Reconnective Healing, we pay attention, but we don't set an intention. We just allow. And so it would be interesting, talking about doing an experiment, to, try it both ways and just, do a facilitating with no intention and just see, how that would work, and then do a facilitating with intention. But I'm feeling hopeful that what happened this morning, and then what will continue to happen as people watch the Zoom and participate just that way, will help drive the peace and cool things down a little bit over there, because what's happening is really just so sad. And there's so much suffering, it's just, it's sad. So,
well, I think it offers a way to bypass politics, which are so ineffective and so harmful, because it's always about somebody has something that I want. So I'm bigger, so I will go take it. And it has been ineffective for millennia. Anyway, it is hopeful. And I'm listening to her book, The Power of Eight, on audio right now. I wouldn't recommend reading it because it's so full of statistics. I can zone out a little bit as I listen, but she has some remarkable results over the last 25 years. And her background is not in spirituality at all. She was a journalist, so it's pretty hard data. But we could in our group do some experiments as well over time, see what it's like. But of course, we can do anything we want.
I'm honestly, I'm kind of preparing my ego self for things to really get worse, honestly, on the world stage. But then I think, well, how does healing fit into this? And I don't know if there's a correlation with what could come, like one of the worst case scenarios, and how healing fits into that, and how we, in a lot of ways, it does bring people to look towards healing within themselves, where their daily life has been interrupted to a point where it's like, okay, I have to pay attention, you know.
And of course, crossing over and coming back is another way of healing, is another way of learning. And this may sound cold, but it may be that some of these souls need a restart.
They're angels in their own right.
Yeah. So good. It will be what it's going to be, but we can do our best to mitigate the damage.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to. On Friday nights, well, I used to live in San Francisco, and for, I don't know, from 2011 till I moved to San Diego in 2018, I would go almost every Friday to the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center. And Brahma Kumaris, they have around 1 million members around the world, and beautiful people, and they're friends of mine. And so when COVID hit, then they started doing Zoom meditations. So I've continued to do that. So another 4 years or whatever it is. So I attended one last week, and the sister said that to aspire to, because we know a lot of the things that we're talking about here and about love and peace and all that, she said, aspire to live in a place of being in the divine, being divine yourself. And that authenticity, when you're out there, makes an impact in the world. And I wrote that down, and I thought, yeah, and I've been carrying that with me ever since, that I am living in the divine. I am divine. And a lot of people could be, but they're not aware of all this stuff, which has really been quite obvious ever since this whole war broke out. And I noticed that when this war broke out, it's like a script, not just the war itself and what they were doing, the egos involved, and I want this, I'm bigger than you, all this. But all the people, you can just look at social media or whatever, and people are so divided everywhere. Like, well, here's my justification for my point of view. Here's mine, and it goes on and on and on. And I'm just thinking, hey, there's one other option here. We can live in peace, we can really do this. And so something like Lynne McTaggart, or, the Reconnective Healing frequencies, all of this all helps bring peace to the earth. So whatever the approach is by people who are seeking peace and putting out peace, I'm okay with, especially in these times. I'm not going to say something like, well, you use the wrong words here. This has to be this has to be that. I recall on Facebook, I said to some woman, I said, well, great. I says, okay, well, I'm sending you good vibes. And she took such offense to that. So this is the kind of thing that people are doing all the time, It didn't fit her script on what you're supposed to say. We have to stop doing that. And so there was another point I wanted to make, and I'm losing it. Where are you? Come back. Come on, come on. Just that I just want to give people more slack these days, and if they want peace and they're working for peace, then bless you. That's wonderful, and I just think that's the way to go. Yeah, and so we need to stop following scripts. That's all that the world is doing. It hasn't changed at all, and it has to change.
Yeah.
And so, and then the last thing on all of that, if you're living as the divine, you're also living in a way of being detached. Detached for some people might sound like a cold word, but it's not. You are literally taking care of yourself while you're taking care of the world. You have to take care of yourself. And that's one beautiful thing about the reconnective healing and the frequencies. We're really, really taking care of our soul, our body, our mind. It's all beautiful, and yeah, it's okay if we forget sometimes, but that's extremely important. Now, some people can be so dedicated to all this that they're working 24/7 for peace and they're all stressed out and everything. Well, I mean, okay, but that's not going to do it. You have to be a strong, powerful soul. That's how I see it. I think that's it. Thanks for listening.
I think that is so wise, Gino. And when I think of how I go about my day and what annoys me, I am waging small battles all the time as I, say what I shouldn't say to another driver, or think I've been disrespected, or somebody is in front of me and they've got 100 coupons that, it's all war. And, I think if we all just step back from that in these tiny things, in the moment, they're big. In that moment of rage or offense, it's all down to the individual moment. Yeah, but thank you for that, Gino.
You're welcome. Yeah, that individual moment, there is a choice in literally every moment, right? So, and it was funny what you were saying about the person ahead of you with so many coupons. I saw this elderly person try to pay at the checkout with change.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking inside, I'm going like crazy, right? And I say, hey, wait, get a grip here. And you're right, that is sort of a war. You're right. Every little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even when my dog wants a cookie at 6:15 instead of 6:30 in the morning, it's my small war, my war with Boo Boo. Yeah. Actually, before I forget, as you know, we are recording this and we're going to post a link to it on Facebook. Is it okay if we tag you? I know for some people already that it isn't, but if it's okay or not okay, just let us know.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I've come out, so we're good.
Okay.
What
That's
exactly
right.
does that mean, tagging you? I don't
That your
understand.
friends will see that you've been
Ah,
featured kind of in another post.
oh, okay.
Like if I put your name in and it comes up bold, that's what it looks like on the page.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Christine has come out of the broom closet.
Your share was beautiful
It was
the other day.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
And you're so brave. There's no one scarier than our own family.
Oh my goodness, yes, that's
Oh, okay.
very true. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was powerful. And yeah, I think, getting back to what both you and Jean were saying, Mary, about the small moments, I find again that as I become more integrated with the knowing of the connection to all that is, that those small moments are so much less irritating, important, they don't matter. It is easier to be kind of impersonal and step back, even with this whole thing that's going on in the Middle East, it's like, or when with Ukraine, when that first happened, my grandparents were from Ukraine. It was like very emotional for me. And then I was able to kind of put it in perspective. And it's like, this is a finite experience, but it's not our infinite. I felt connected to it in a deep way, but it's still, and it's not that, it doesn't matter, because it does. It's horrible, but it's also something that's happened for thousands of years, and something that's going to continue probably. And what I can do is just be with it and be peace with it. And, that's it. So that helps.
And I think it starts as intentional before it becomes automatic.
Yes.
I have to keep reminding myself.
Me too.
I need to put it on my bathroom mirror so I see it every morning. Walk about with the Dalai Lama gaze. I don't see him getting pissed off. I hear our music. It's been great having you all here. Love you all so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Love ya.